following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
Well, if it's Tuesday and 11:30 in the morning Central Time, that means it is Mick Shots. Mickey Spagnola, Everson Walls, Bill Jones not with us again, so I'm going to have Everson sing that song, Just the Two of Us, right?
Who sang that? Who sang that, Spags? Tell me who it was. Who's the author of that song? Come on, man. Just the two of us. You can make it if you try.
See, you got it better than I.
Come on, man.
Who is it?
Bill, what is it? Bill Withers,
Bill
right?
Withers, that's right.
That's right. Boy, we are old.
No, here's how old we are. So last night, there was nothing on TV to watch between 9 and 10, and I saw on public TV, K-E-R-A, yes, public television. Mm-hmm. They had
only old people watch that channel, by the way.
They had a 2007 concert from the Troubadour in L.A. with James Taylor and Carole King.
Oh, man. Hey, Carole King was my favorite growing up. When I heard her song, I Feel the Earth Move Under My Feet. Come on, man. That was one of the most powerful songs I've ever heard.
They sang all those songs from back in the day, and it was an hour-and-a-half concert from the Troubadour, and I think it showed in 2010, but the concert was in 2007. So, yeah, I got a little... go back to my college days, right?
A little nostalgic.
Because I think I still have it too. By the way, I had her greatest hits album, and the same thing from James Taylor too. And it was they were good. I didn't realize.
I would get that. Yes, I would get that greatest hits album, and I'm sure while you were back in college, you were drinking Boone's Farm as you were listening to her and James.
I wasn't a wine guy back then. I could
no
definitely admit that. But I guarantee you, there's some
Mickey's. What about Mickey's Big Mouth? What about Mickey's Big Mouth?
That was the worst. That was the worst. You know what? I kept one of those. I have one on my TV upstairs. Never opened. Right?
Oh my God!
It's full. God knows.
That was when you had desperate times and hardly no money. That's
what we used to call skunk beer, right?
Yeah. Well, I drink skunk beer now, Spag, so I wouldn't down skunk beer too badly.
All righty. Well, here we go. It's March 2nd. We are 1 week into the period where teams can tag players with the franchise tag. 1 week to go, March 9th. Next Tuesday is the deadline, so maybe we'll have some news by then, one way or another, when I do our next show. But at this point, all eyes still on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys to see if they can come to a long-term deal before they have to use the franchise tag. And not just use it to retain his rights, but to stuff $37.7 million into the salary cap come March 17th when the new league year opens. And I guess we can start there again since it's one of it's one of those topics that just keeps on giving. It just doesn't go away. And I've been listening to everybody try to analyze all this stuff. And the one thing, and I think we brought it up last week, the one thing no one points out is, everybody keeps saying, sign him. You should have signed him 2 years ago. Just, give him what he wants. And my question always is, we don't know what they're asking for. What are they asking for? Do they? Because obviously $35 million a year was not enough. Do they want 40, 45, 50? I I don't know. And I heard, talk radio.
Or
yesterday.
is it 3 years or 4 years?
Yeah, because obviously they didn't want 5 years? Yeah, right. And I heard, I heard somebody saying, they Cowboys should have done this 2 years ago, and they would have saved money. And I said, well, how do you know? Because you don't know what they were asking for 2 years ago. You don't know what they were asking for last year.
And with me, I look at the comparisons in how I go way back to when Emmitt Smith had to hold out to get his money, and the next year Troy Aikman's contract was torn up, and Emmitt Smith was immediately underpaid on his team. After going through all of that, then you look at Tony Romo, who one of Jerry's favorites, and how he made a big deal about signing Romo, tearing up the remainder of his contract and signing him to a really nice deal. And then all of a sudden, here comes Dak, and we got a problem. And so as a black man, I'm looking at this like, oh, man, come on, let's not be this, right? Let's not be this stereotypical. Let's not be this predictable. And as I look at the contract and I look at what they're offering me, I could say, as a friend of Dak's or maybe just a fan of Dak's, I would say, wow, that's a lot of money. He should sign that, But then at the same time, as a former union rep and as a former player, the devil is in the details. And so not confusing part, but I think the more engaging part of it is that we don't hear from Dak. We haven't heard from his people. They're sitting back, taking in offers, but not really responding, at least publicly, not responding. I don't know what the Cowboys are saying. I don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. But I just don't want this to turn into another Kirk Cousins situation. And I think it was in Washington where they just kept, coming up with franchise. And then it turns into a volatile situation to where no one trusts anybody. The outcome of not just that position, but the outcome of the season is hanging on these negotiations. So it's not like you're just dealing with a defensive back, and not to diminish my DBs or any other position on the field. Okay, so shut up, Spag. So all I'm saying is, the quarterback position, as much as I despise the overblowing of its importance, we got to have somebody in there that's going to right this ship for good. We got to know who we're going to settle on. Is it going to be Andy, which, Andy's good. He did decent when he finally got his legs under him. Or are we going to get back to see what Dak Prescott can do? And once again, the injury, I'm sure, is a factor on both sides. I'm sure Dak is very stubborn about he's ready to go. And, of course, the Cowboys, they won't say it publicly. But during negotiations, they're going to say, hey, man, we're not sure what you can do on that leg. We saw that horrific break. And regardless of how enthusiastic your workouts are and how good you feel about it, we may not feel as good about it as you do. So therefore, our negotiations might have a little different tone this time around, Spags.
And that's one reason why when you have an opportunity to sign a long-term deal, do not play on a one-year deal, because you never know what might happen to you going into free agency the next year. Do you want to take that chance? And you know what? So a couple points. I think one of the positive points is that Dak's been here rehabbing. So there doesn't seem to be any butt hurt going on either side. He's eligible to be here rehabbing in the off season. He seems to be willfully doing that. So it's not like, no, I'm not going to show you, where I'm at. So the Cowboys will have an idea of just where he's at with his rehab, which is a good thing. The other thing that I got curious of after we did the show last week was, remember last July 15th when the deadline was going to pass, if you didn't sign him to a long-term deal, he had to play on the franchise tag and there are no more negotiations. Well, the reports came out at the last minute that they were close to doing a deal, and supposedly they ran out of time, which I can't believe they ran out of time, right?
They had an egg timer.
Yeah,
right?
they had 7 months, right, to be able to work it out. So, but if they were close then, when you pick up negotiations now, why aren't you still close? What changed? Nothing really changed. I can't imagine the Cowboys offered less. They may have asked for more. But if you were close, why aren't you still close? And then there's this one. And I know you, as you said, you were a player rep and you had to deal with agents and things like that. But just, I don't know if this coincidence or what, but his representative, Todd France, who's been negotiating the deal, I didn't realize that come August, early August, he left his agency, CAA, and they said it was a Sports Business Journal reported it was a mutual decision. So he left the agency he had been working for, and a month later, he joined another agency. It was called Sports First, I believe it was called. And it's like, so was that just a coincidence? Because I'm thinking agents probably have to give a cut to the agency they work for, right?
Yes,
so
yes, they do.
I don't know if, in the back of his mind, he was leaving there and he didn't want to put money in an old agency when he was going to a new agency, right? Just food for thought, right?
So you think that may have played a factor?
Well, I don't know. I'm not accusing anything. I'm just pointing it out that this did take place, right? So maybe now that he's with the new agency, they can get this thing done. And it would be great if they can get it done by next Tuesday, so the Cowboys don't have to start off the league year, or at least get it done by March 17th, so they don't have to start off the league year with that much money stuffed into a new salary cap. And we should probably know closer at some point, either later this week or early next week, what the cap's going to actually be. They've set a ceiling at, or not a ceiling, but I guess a basement at 180 at least the cap would be. And I've seen some sites factoring the new salary cap at 185. So we'll see what it ends up being, and maybe that'll help out. That's maybe holding things up so you know exactly what the cap's going to be. Plus, they need a projection also for next year, because when you work out the base salaries, you base them on, and you used to base them on, well, this cap's going to go up, right? And it's going to go up. It's been going up $10 million a year. So you're going, okay, whatever the base salary is this year, it could be X amount of dollars more next year because the cap's going to absorb some of that. So we'll see where this thing's going. Did you ever have a long negotiation with the Cowboys?
I was gonna say. It got just like anything with me. It's always complications.
Everson right now, I can't hear him.
Have you lost me? I'm still here. Can you hear me? No, I'm still here.
I'm going to assume he said something really great because I can't hear him right now.
No,
but we'll continue to monitor this as we go along, and hopefully. The two sides can come together because, what I keep saying is the deal benefits both sides. We know it benefits the Cowboys, right? But
any better? Can you hear me, Spence?
There we go.
There we go. You forgot
earphones.
You had a partner on the air.
No, I knew I had a partner. I was worried that I didn't have one. I think the earphone plug is loose there. Yeah, so I asked you the question about had you ever had a prolonged negotiation with Tex Schramm or Gil Brandt?
Before you got here, everything is always complicated with Everson Walls. You remember I came in as a free agent.
Right.
I balled out my rookie year from preseason all the way to the Pro Bowl. Must have had about 18 interceptions in all by the time the season was over. So the Cowboys came to me in the offseason doing me a favor. And so they came to me from a $30,000 contract, 3 years, they came up with another 3-year deal, and the first year was going to be $80,000. Well, Gil Brandt forgot that I graduated from college now. And he may not have had much respect for my degree at Grambling State University, but it did me well. Speaking of,
yes,
thank you very much, representing. So anyway, I'm thinking, okay, so if I sign this $80,000 deal, I think with a $30,000 signing bonus, I'm looking at Ronnie Lott, Lawrence Taylor, and all of the defensive backs in the league. I just left the Pro Bowl. So I'm gathering information on what these salaries are in the Pro Bowl. Their salaries are up to $150,000 already. You're telling me to come in and sign an $80,000 deal. I'd be just like Emmitt Smith. I'd be underpaid by the time the ink was dry, okay? And that would be my raise. So I did just like Dak. I held out for greener pastures in regards to finances. They came to me again with another deal. I think it was like $110,000 on top of that. And I told Gil he must be out of his mind. And they would send the troops after you. So they would ask some of the players to say something, in the media. Gil Brandt would put his henchmen out there. Gene Stallings came to me and said, Evie, I want to talk to you. If you take that $80,000 and you put that in the bank, shoot, man, in 20 years, you're going to have yourself $1 million. And I was just so flabbergasted at the elementary tactics that they were using to pressure me into signing these contracts. So when you look at it, I rolled the dice for 2 years, not just 1 year. I rolled the dice for 2 years because I was not going to be underpaid even after I signed the contract. So yes, this was before you got here. You came in 84?
Middle of the 84 season, yeah.
By that time my damage was already done. My name was mud in the management office. At 24 years old, 23 years old, I had already ruined my reputation in regards to good graces with the three-headed monster of Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt, and Tom Landry.
So wait a minute. So 3 years when you said 80,000, was it total or 80,000 a year?
They were going to give me $80,000 with a $30,000 signing bonus first year, and it was going to go up, I think, 105 or 125, something like that. But starting at $80,000 with a $30,000 bonus, and I just, you don't have to be smart, okay? Ronnie Lott came in with me. LT came in with me. I'm at the Pro Bowl with them. So those are my peers. I want to be paid like my peers. And I'm using air quotes. I don't know why I'm doing that, but they're really my peers. And so for me to sit up here and sign a contract that would bring me $110, including the $30,000 bonus, when they're already at $150, and their bonus was $1 million, not $30,000. So when you look at all of that, it's not hard to turn something down like that, especially when I went 11 interceptions. The strike year was coming up. I had 7 interceptions in 9 games. My confidence is brewing. It's not diminishing. And that's something that the Cowboys couldn't deal with.
So, and I think what people need to understand, back in that day, the salaries weren't as public as they are now. So Everson did his homework finding out what other guys
I sure did.
And it's actually probably a good thing you did, because then in the strike year, you guys didn't get paid for the 7 games you missed, right?
We did not. We did not get paid for those. Let me say this, and I've never, Gary Myers may have put it in his book, but I was always sensitive about lack of information, full disclosure in negotiations. And management was always about lying to you about what your teammate made, because everyone was afraid to say what they made. So I don't know if you remember, man, as a union rep, that's the first thing I did. And even though Gary Myers and USA Today, I believe, capitalized off of that move. I made sure that every salary was published so that players who were management lackeys wouldn't be lying about what they're making, and management themselves wouldn't mislead us about what our peers were making.
And not everybody had an agent. And not everybody had an agent back then either, did they?
No, people. No, everyone had agents. Come on, man. This is not the '70s. I came in '81, Spags. Come on, man. Stop.
Well, it sounded like you were doing it yourself.
No. I made my own decisions, but I did have an agent. I had Weinberg, who he was ready to make trouble.
Yeah,
he was ready to make trouble. It didn't matter. All I had to do was say sick him, and he was going to get him. So. That's what you wanted an agent, and what that did was it put a lot of pressure on management, because now they couldn't be dishonest in their practices, at least not as much as they wanted to be.
Yeah, they hated seeing Steve walk in the building.
Gil Brandt and Steve Weinberg, could you imagine being a fly on the wall anytime that they were together?
Oh, my gosh. And Steve would be like, well, no.
That might be why I'm not in the Ring of Honor right now, because Steve and I worked so well together.
All right, 11:51 here on Mick Shots, and Everson and myself will return here in a moment, and we're going to get into a little bit more of the Cowboys' other free agents, guys that are unrestricted coming up here when the league year starts. And speaking of Gil Brandt, I've got his top 32 board, and we're going to go over that and see just where the players are falling for where the Cowboys' needs are. That coming up next here on DallasCowboys.com in the SWBC Mortgage Studio.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Just like all of you, we at SeatGeek can't wait until we're back in the stands at full strength cheering on the Cowboys and singing along to our favorite songs again. We're using this time to make discovering, buying, and selling tickets to events in Dallas easier. Plus, every ticket purchased on SeatGeek is protected by our buyer guarantee, which means you'll get your money back or better if your event is canceled. Guaranteed. Download the SeatGeek app today, and when the time is right, let's go. SeatGeek.
Back to Mick Shots.
The Star District is the perfect place for the whole family to enjoy. Help support local Frisco businesses by visiting us to dine, shop, and explore the Dallas Cowboy-themed campus. For more information on all the Star has to offer, including restaurant delivery, takeout, curbside pickup options, visit thestar.com. And we return here to Mick Shots on this Tuesday. Mickey Spagnola, Everson Walls. Everson Walls in his home studio. I'm here at the Star in the SWBC Mortgage Studio as
trying to have my liquor cabinet. I don't want anybody to see what I've got back there.
Oh, is that the deal?
Yeah, I was trying to hide it. Yeah, I was trying to use my picture to kind of shift it and Can't see my liquor in the cabinet. That's okay.
I just want to know. I want to make sure it's full.
Yes, it is. I finished the rooms, Spags.
No,
I finished the rooms.
Now,
They
wait a
are
minute.
done.
You finished. Does that mean the popcorn's off and you painted?
Done. I even got so far as to paint the floor, paint the ceiling. I did it all, brother. It's done. It is done. And I didn't get in any trouble, because that means that I will never listen to you when it comes to home improvement.
So you did a good job, is what you're telling me.
I did an excellent job. Yes, sir. I'm so proud of myself.
All right. Well, when I need some stuff painted, I may just have to call on you. We'll contract out.
Yeah,
right?
you can call me, but I won't be answering. I won't be answering. That's okay.
All right. So, and speaking of your Grambling shirt, I'm curious. I see where Jackson State's next game is going to be at Grambling. Is it next weekend or this weekend?
Mm-hmm. That should be this weekend. Should be this weekend. I think they had it for this weekend. You know what? I think it may have, because of the freeze, I believe it's going to be changed, and the location should be at Globe Life Park.
No way.
It's going to be a Globe Life Park. Yes, it's going to be, because it was going to be.
It was at Grambling.
At the Cotton Bowl. And the Cotton Bowl was damaged during this. The Cotton Bowl was damaged during the freeze, so they're going to be playing at Globe Life Park. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty amazing. And I'm not sure if it's this weekend or next weekend, but I'll be doing a camp this weekend, so I won't be able to participate. But, no, it should be pretty exciting. Deion gets to come back home, and let's just face it, his regardless of what you think about Deion or whatever, he is a marketing genius. And I'm loving that he's bringing that prowess to the Southwestern Athletic Conference, to HBCU football, because, let's face it, we could use the infusion, especially with the pandemic. I mean, here we are playing ball in the springtime. It just lets you know that, we couldn't handle the expenses. We couldn't handle any of the chores that had to be done just because we just don't have that kind of discretionary income to make those kind of adjustments in a pandemic situation. So he should provide a nice infusion of excitement and exposure to HBCUs. And before we move on, Spags, this is another reason I wore the Grambling shirt here. John Mendenhall. We lost a great one, not just from Grambling, not just as an HBCU athlete, but the entire New York Giants family and the NFL family. You're talking about, when we look at this time, Spags, we are losing people who were prominent names in sports and in all of society, in all walks of society. And so when all of a sudden, and I'm going to get to him as well, John Mendenhall leaves us, who was just one of those names that when you heard it, you never forgot it when it came to football. He was a guy, every game he played well. He was rarely hurt. He was an old school guy to where when you thought of New York Giants, if you're a New York Giant fan, a true New York Giant fan, he's going to be one of those names that you remember that affected your childhood and your upbringing in regards to being a football fan. The professionalism that guys like Mendenhall showed that came from playing for Eddie Robinson, came from the pride that he had by being an HBCU player coming from Grambling State University, representing the SWAC, representing all HBCU players. These are the kind of names that they're just leaving us, Spags. They're leaving us, and with no fanfare. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's happened with so many different types of people. And as we move on to the great Irv Cross, a guy that was a pioneer in all of sports, one of the first African-American men to be on TV in a sports show with Brent Musburger. I believe it was CBS Sports, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
And he and Brent Musburger. Go ahead, Spags. I know you know something about that.
It was in CBS. thing I didn't realize about him, and he joined CBS, and he also, was on NFL Today, the great show with Brett Musburger and Phyllis George, right?
Yes.
What I didn't realize about him is he is from Hammond, Indiana, and to just a little background about that, Hammond's about maybe 10 miles, no more than 15 from where I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago. And as a matter of fact, my summer job working in the factory during when my summers in college was in Hammond, Indiana, right? So I didn't know he and then he was like a all-star, all-state guy from the state of Indiana, and he went to Northwestern in 1957 and was drafted in the 7th round in '61 and played with the Eagles. And I think it was the Lions. He played with 2 different teams, then he went back to the Eagles.
Yes.
And so, it was the Eagles and Rams. I'm sorry. Anyway. Yeah, and here's what happens. So, when you're young, back in those days, in the 60s and 70s for us, when people died, you'd sit there and go, oh, well, they're really old, right? You didn't really know who they were. But now, when you get older,
they did. Yeah.
Now when you get older, you know all these people that are starting to die, and you're sitting there going, okay. Because I think Irv Cross.
And then we disillusion ourselves and say, oh, he wasn't that old.
Yeah,
he's
right?
85 or something. He
Irv
wasn't
Cross
that old.
was 81, and Mendenhall was only 72. So, and I remember this quote from Joe Green, because I forgot who was the last guy on their steel curtain to pass away. And he was talking.
L.C. Greenwood.
Yeah, it was L.C. Greenwood. And so those were his guys, right, for the days in Pittsburgh. And he said something
the steel curtain, yeah.
He said something like, what happens when you get older is you lose your friends because we're all getting old, but you're not making new friends. It's like you hold on to those old friends, right? But when you get older, you're not making a lot of new friends. And he goes, I'm feeling kind of lonely now because I'm the last man standing from that. And it made me think. And I actually, when I talked to him, I told him, I said, boy, that was so accurate when you think about it,
Yeah.
So anyway, those 2 guys. So let's do this. The rest of this segment. The Cowboys have 17 players that are unrestricted free agents. They have 6 other guys that are restricted or exclusive right free agents. So the Cowboys do have the rights on those other 6 guys to give them qualifying offers to retain their rights. But they do have 17 guys, 16 other than Dak Prescott, right? So I thought we'd go through this and just kind of real quickly kind of say yay or nay or what do you think's going to happen. And this list is by the amount of money they made this past year. So second behind Dak Prescott was Tyrone Crawford. 9 years in the league, came back from 2 hip surgeries. He's unrestricted. I wonder, number one, if he wants to continue playing, and number 2, do the Cowboys, you got to get younger at some point, right? You can't keep re-signing 30-some-year-old guys. Do they bring them back? Or I would imagine this is going to be one of those market value ones, right? You see what the market says, and then you see what what you think you can do. What do you think on Tyrone?
You got it. Not only his age, I would love his experience and the spirit that he brought, but you're also talking about, 2 hip surgeries, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something that you have to be aware of. I know players want to hang on. We want to hang on as long as we can. And we'll to be so-called put out to pasture, that's something that no one wants to be involved in. But just from a practical standpoint, that would be tough to bring him back.
Okay.
It would be tough for me to make that decision.
And next would be Sean Lee. going to turn 35.
Sean Lee, love him to death. Surprisingly, he came back this year and did as well as he did. He was always overmatched physically. Now those injuries are catching up with him, as well as age. I'd have to let him go.
Andy Dalton. And this one, I think, will have a lot to do with what the rest of the league thinks of Andy Dalton, because I got a feeling the Cowboys would love to have him back as the backup quarterback.
Oh, yes. I'd love to bring him back for backup. If he lets us, I'm bringing him back as a backup right now. But once again, if Dak doesn't sign, let's go Andy.
Next is the veteran offensive tackle. He just played 1 year with the Cowboys, Cam Irving, and he missed the majority of the season, missed all of training camp, was hurt at the beginning of the year, was hurt at the end of the year. To me, that's the one position, if you aren't going to address it by the third round in the draft, offensive tackle, then you got to have better than Cam Irving as your backup tackle, knowing that your tackles have had injury history, especially Tyron Smith. And I'm not saying to give up on Tyron Smith. What I keep hearing is, well, he's missed at least 3 games in each of the last 4 years. I'll take 13 games from him at his level than anybody else that you're going to put there, right?
That's right.
But I got to have better.
With Cam, it's a tough one. It really is. You want the big bodies, Spags. I mean, we want that. We want that player. Is he as good as he's going to get? That's the thing. Is he as good as he's going to get? What we saw from him last year, minus injuries or not, is this all that we can expect from him? Sometimes those big bodies, they can do well for you if you can somehow tap into their mentality to make them understand the game better, which would make them better. I got to keep him, Spags. I got to keep him.
All right,
Only because we need offensive linemen. That's a tough one.
We'll see where that one goes. And again, I see a lot of people looking at the draft and looking at the injuries the Cowboys had at the tackle position and wanting the Cowboys to draft an offensive tackle in the first round. I'm not there at all, but by the third round, I would take a young guy and say, okay, is this guy good enough to step in and be my swing tackle?
Like a Biotis or something like that.
Yes, like they did with him, exactly. Okay, next is Joe Looney, who ended up the starting center, but I think Biotis is going to be the starter next year. So if Looney's good to come back as the backup swing guard tackle, I'd be okay with that. But again, that comes down to market value, right? Alden Smith, can you get him back? Does he want to stay? Are other teams going to be offering? That's the unknown at this point.
Even though our defense was horrible, he was one of those bright spots. And especially, Spags, when we finally were smart enough to move him around.
Exactly.
When we moved him around on that defensive line, he was extremely effective. And those few shining moments that we had defensively, he was a big key in regards to that. And his movement up and down the line, that was a big key to some of our, hard to call it success on the defense that we had. But it did make us more effective. So yes.
From his standpoint, and what Everson's saying is, they list him as a defensive end, but he got some pretty good, efficient snaps at defensive tackle, especially in a pass rush situation. And at his age, if he's a rotation.
And with Randy Gregory on around there, too.
And he should be at defensive end.
To be reckoned with.
And Gregory should be, for a full season. And if you can plan on that, then you're in pretty good shape, along with Dorrance Armstrong. And you still don't know what Bradley Anai, he really didn't get a chance. So from a defensive end standpoint, you could be okay. This next one, I think, is a no-brainer. Blake Bell, the backup tight end. I think he was very serviceable, and if you can bring him back as the third tight end with a guy that's very versatile, I'd have him back.
Very versatile. I like that, Spags. Very versatile. I could see him doing the same things that Rudolph was doing for the Vikings, who they had the other tight end that was playing against us and lined up under center. We can do all of that with Bell because he was a very accomplished running quarterback at Oklahoma. So
well, that's true
I would
too.
love to keep him. I'd love to keep him as a capable, not just tight end, but he can do many, many things on special teams as well.
Now here's your guy, Joe Thomas, backup linebacker. Good
Joe
veteran
Thomas,
guy to have, right?
Yes, he's good to have, but we didn't use him.
Well,
I mean, let's not just keep him around for a veteran guy. I'd love to use him more. And maybe once again, we don't let me go off on this nickel thing again because I think I may have gotten in trouble last week. But I just. You know, I feel that the guy deserved better than last year. And as much as, you know, he may not be well healed in regards to a lot of talent, I thought he filled in well for us when we finally decided to play 3 linebackers.
LP Lattiser, no problem bringing him back. He's still doing the job. No. And the good thing about him is he's willing to play for that veteran benefit against the cap where you can give him a little bit more, but he doesn't cost as much against the cap. Okay, now here's going to be a one that they're going to have to make a decision about. Chidobe Awuzie.
That's a tough one. After last year, and the injuries, you almost ready to dismiss him off the bat because when you're with a bad defense as ours is, and you came back as a veteran off an injury, and when you came back and played, it didn't make a difference in your defense, then you're not really looking at necessarily keeping him. But if the new DC comes in and feels that Awuzie can help him, and maybe put him in position to make some plays, if he's attractive to Quinn, then he's attractive to me.
And that's going to be, I think that'll be another one of those market value things. You got to kind of judge how much it would cost to bring him back. I'm sure, he's done with his rookie contract, and, can he cash in? Does somebody think, one of the other 31 teams think he's worth, whatever? But if not, if he wants to reestablish his market value, maybe you bring him back on a 1-year kind of deal and say, okay, we can handle this amount. Now maybe you can reestablish your market value for the next year if you're not getting a big offer. C.J. Goodwin, kind of a special teams ace. If you can afford him, bring him back. And again, but a lot of this
shouldn't cost you too much.
Is market value. Same thing with Justin March, the outside linebacker. Yep. Jordan Lewis is another tough one. He ate up a lot of snaps for you, played in the nickel, but again, how much? And in this, especially this year, that's going to be a determining factor for a lot of these guys.
I thought he was misused a lot. Once again, playing nickel way too much. You're asking a slightly built young man to get in there against tight ends in the running game and pulling guards on first down, second down. We're not even talking about pass defense. We're talking about 1st and 10, 2nd and 5. And he's got to stick his nose in there. And he did his best in regards to that. If we could just keep his responsibilities to a more finite level and stop trying to ask him to do too much, I think he could do well for us. I don't look at him as a starter. I never have. But I do think he could be that capable defensive back, that 5th and 6th defensive back that we need. Now, once again, all of this is predicated on how we're going to improve our pressure up front. If we can improve our pressure up front, guys like Jordan Lewis have shown that they can be that guy to make important plays for us during critical parts of the game. So it has to be laid out for them just right.
So 3 other guys real quickly here that played somewhat significant roles. Xavier Woods, your starting safety. Now, there was another guy, everybody talks about his production, But they weren't playing him at free safety that second half of the season. They were playing him like a strong safety. He was their nickel. He was their strong side linebacker, right? And it's like,
I'm getting so tired of hearing the word nickel. See, that's the problem. I'm so tired of hearing the word nickel because once they start using it so often, you're almost piecemealing where you're putting your players.
Right.
You know, a guy like Donovan Wilson that came along, that really kind of turned things upside down for the whole secondary and the hierarchy, the totem pole that was established, which is a good thing. That's why Donovan Wilson was back at safety, free safety, as opposed to Xavier Woods. That's the way I saw it. So if you're going to bring back a Xavier Woods, then Donovan Wilson needs to be back there as well.
Noah Brown, he's been a guy that's been on their practice squad, and he finally kind of carved himself a role. But again, you're not going to spend a lot of money trying to bring him back as a fifth wide receiver. And then the other guy in that boat is Cedric Wilson, who I think is, I take it back. Cedric Wilson's a restricted free agent, so they can give him an offer. Probably would give him a qualifying offer as original draft choice because he was a 6. So if somebody signs him to an offer sheet and you don't want to match it, then you get a 6th-round pick in return.
And another versatile guy as well.
Right.
Another versatile player as well.
And here's another guy that once they put him back on the field, and he's restricted this year, Antoine Woods, your defensive tackle. This guy should have been playing from the start, messing around with Dontari Poe out there and costing this guy snaps, right? And he's restricted, and he was not a draft choice. So, if you don't want to match whatever the qualifying offer, then you wouldn't get anything back for losing him. But maybe he's one of those guys where you just give a little bit of money to, and you sign him to a very inexpensive 2-year deal. But you give him a little signing bonus to give him something to come back. Because remember last year, he didn't sign his exclusive tag until the last minute. He was hoping that they valued him a little bit more than, or at least as much as he had valued himself. It didn't work out that way. So that's kind of the Cowboys list here. And when we return here on Mick Shots, I'm going to give you Gil Brandt's top 32 board here. And we're going to play this game. I'm going to read them off in order, and when you get to a player you think the Cowboys would want, you stop me, okay?
Okay.
All right, that's next on Mick Shots on DallasCowboys.com.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay? Let's play. Cream soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. When there's work to be done, a real workhorse can make all the difference. Like the Range Boss package. Our 5075E John Deere 75 horsepower tractor features a bell spear and loader and starts at $369 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. It works like a horse, so you don't have to.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now, let's get to work.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Back to Mick Shots.
ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now and get your exclusive fan pack and member benefits. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details. And we continue here on Mick Shots on DallasCowboys.com. And if anybody's just joining us, which you should have long time ago, right? Mickey Spagnola and Everson Walls. So I've got Gil Brandt's top 32 board, and he's not suggesting that this is a mock draft, okay? Like, this is the order these guys are going to be picked, but he ranked them in how good he thinks these guys are. So I'm going to read them off, and you tell me, okay, the Cowboys need that guy, right? So number 1, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback. Number 2, yeah, right? Number 2, Penei Sewell, offensive tackle. I don't know that they could qualify taking an offensive tackle.
I would
in the high in the first round. Okay. Number 3, wide receiver Jamar Chase. Probably don't need that, right?
No.
Number 4, quarterback Zach Wilson. Probably don't need that.
No quarterbacks.
All right.
We don't need any quarterbacks.
Number 5 is Kyle Pitts, a tight end. That seems a little extravagant, knowing that they have so many defensive needs.
We don't need a tight end that high.
Right. Number 6, offensive tackle Rashawn Slater.
Those offensive tackles looking good, Spags.
Number 7, Trey Lance, quarterback. Number 8,
no QBs.
Quarterback Justin Fields. Number 9,
great athlete, but no QBs.
Number 9, Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive guard in the top 10. I don't think I could qualify that.
I don't know. Hey, now didn't we just talk about the importance of an offensive line?
I'm with you.
And we're dealing with offensive guard problems.
Well, if Zach Martin's
back, you
would
still say no?
Just think, if Zach Martin's back, then you've got a combination of Connor McGovern and Connor Williams to take care of the backup guard position. And by the way, this is what I was going to point out when we were talking about Cam Irving. The Cowboys can't mess around anymore. If they get another offensive tackle hurt, Zach Martin's got to go out to tackle. No messing around with undrafted free agents trying to fill in that spot. That's why I said...
And that's why when you name off these linemen, especially tackles and guards, I am intrigued.
Yeah,
I wouldn't just pass them up, Spags.
You can get one in the second or third round. You don't need them in the first round when you have so many defensive needs.
Are you sure about that, sir?
Yeah, I am.
Are you sure about that, sir?
Think about the Great Wall of Dallas. There was one guy that was drafted in the second round, and the rest of them were basically undrafted free agents, right, that they developed. Okay.
True.
Number 10, Devontae Smith. You can't do that again, right? Wide receiver. Number 11,
no wide receiver.
Jalen Waddle, wide receiver. And at number 12 on Gil's list is the first defensive player listed, Jalen Phillips, a defensive end. Number 13 is the guy I pointed out last week, linebacker Micah Parsons.
You like this guy. You really like this guy.
I really think he's awfully talented. But again, you got to decide, is he a 3-down linebacker or a 2-down linebacker? And he's another one of these guys that, didn't play last year. So now, what is your evaluation level on him? And now, 14 and 15, we finally...
But no, before you move on with that, you can also find great linebackers in the lower rounds.
Right.
Spag. It happens all the time. You got hungry guys coming from small schools, and they come into a big-time program, whether it's Cowboys, Pittsburgh, or whatever, and they make a difference. So I'm not really worried about linebackers in the first round as well. I feel like that the way you feel about the offensive tackles and guards.
But what if this is a generational Lawrence Taylor type linebacker?
Well, then, if you say it is, then I'm all for
not.
it.
I have not the valuation, but
you put your stamp on him last week. Come on. Be consistent. Be consistent.
And the one evaluation I read about him, and this is a guy's opinion I respect. He compared him to Rolando McClain. And if you think about Rolando McClain before he had his off-field problems, this guy was a stud, right?
Yes,
Big.
he was.
This guy Parsons 6'4", 245, and he runs. He runs like a defensive back. So anyway,
one thing you have to have with linebackers, Spags. Before we move on, one thing you have to have with linebackers, you don't need just studs looking good, but they have to have football instincts. Linebackers are like running backs. You have to know where the hole is once the ball is snapped. You see, so some guys don't get that no matter how high they're drafted. You can find that in a guy mid-round who was just extremely intelligent and was a leader of his team for 4 years at, some central university somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You can find that guy.
All right. Here's going to be your homework assignment. You call up his film. And I understand highlight films, they're all going to be great plays, right? But his instincts in those highlight films, to me, were amazing. All right, now.
Writing it down now, Spags. Writing it down now.
We finally get to what everybody's giving the Dallas Cowboys in their mock drafts. At 14 and 15, cornerback Patrick Surtain and cornerback Caleb Farley. Virginia Tech and Alabama, by the way. So that's how Gil kind of put his power rankings together. Now,
well, Caleb was a guy that he sat out part of the.
He opted
did he sit
out
out
also.
Season?
Yes, he did not play last year.
So you got to worry about that. Surtain was balling the entire time, but he's got problems against speed. Sometimes the fast guys can get by him. I mean, you know how it was. I had the same problem. Sometimes you have to speed up your brain when you're out there going against faster players. I have one for you, Spags, that the Cowboys might want to sign.
All right.
Can I mention this one?
Go ahead.
Honorable mention, Larry Roundtree. I'm sure you know of this young man. He's a running back from what? Where's he from? Mizzou, right? Is he from Mizzou?
Yes. But he'll be.
I mean, come on. What do you think?
He'll be a second, third round.
Frank Gore, a Frank Gore type with major durability, runs downhill. I mean, come on, man. 37 carries against who was that? Mississippi State, was it?
Yes. But
this guy's a stud, man. You're not bringing him up? Come on, represent the Tigers.
He's not in Gil's top 32. The only guy from Missouri in the top 32 is linebacker Nick Bolton from Frisco, by the way.
Nice.
But he's an inside guy, and I don't know that he's a 3-down linebacker, but he's awfully good. He's got him ranked 19th. But here's the deal on if you're trying to get an idea of what people think of what's available in the draft, we went through the top 11, and no defensive player was listed, right? And then between 12 and 20, they were all defensive players before he had Alabama quarterback Mac Jones at 21. And then the next guy at 22, Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle from Alabama that had one heck of a national championship game, right?
No, a national championship year.
Right.
Career. Let's just say your whole career was amazing.
And I had him circled. And if that's something you would be interested in, then you could probably trade down 5 or 6 spots and probably still be able to pick him up. But I continue to see in these mock drafts, like Charlie Casserly, whatever you think of Charlie and his player evaluation, he had Parsons going number 7, by the way. And there's some people that had Barmore going in their top 12. So those are positions I think the Cowboys obviously keeping an eye on. Not only, cornerback, but I got no problem taking a defensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, as long as that linebacker is versatile and can play all three downs. I don't want him off the field on the nickel.
Well, the draft itself shows me that running backs are still not considered to be, premium. Which I still think is a shame. You got guys like Najee Harris at Bama. I mean, come on, who wouldn't take that guy? Another Henry in the making. Your boy Hubbard from Oklahoma State.
Right.
Just a guy that one of the best. Travis Etienne from Clemson. Man, this guy, he's done things on the field that I've never seen anyone do. He reminds me of CeeDee Lamb, just playing in the backfield, a little bit bigger. And like I said, your boy Roundtree.
Right.
These are guys, he's ranked right after Najee Harris. And that's saying a lot because Najee Harris is a great athlete. Larry Roundtree, guys like that, they won't be appreciated. They're just like the Frank Gores. They won't be appreciated until their career is over.
And he's got Najee Harris ranked 25th, the only running back in his top 32.
That is amazing to me. The only running back?
Yes. Absolutely.
That makes no sense. It makes no Travis Etienne. Come on.
You could put that on Gil. And here's a guy.
That's just another thing I'm going to put on Gil.
Yeah, right. And here's a guy, his 32nd guy. But when I watch this guy play, oh my, Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver from Florida. I don't know if you've ever seen him play.
I have seen him.
He will cause some teams headaches. I'll guarantee you that. And he may go higher than 32nd. He's not big, but boy. He's the next coming of Kansas City's guy, Hill, right? This guy,
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, this guy is all over the place with the football. So anyway, well, that's two Mick Shots in a row.
Very informative show, Spaz.
A lot of information, right?
Stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, it was.
I got to look on my list and see if I forgot anything. But if I did, there's always next week, right?
Yeah, and once again, R.I.P. to John Mendenhall and Irv Cross.
And Irv Cross, boy.
Guys.
I loved listening to Irv Cross on that on the TV.
Smooth.
Yeah, really smooth.
Smooth
NFL Today. He was awfully good. All right. Thank you very much, Everson Walls, Chris Beam. Thanks for keeping us afloat, and I'll try
Christopher.
Keep my headset, my headphones plugged in well next time so we don't have a lapse in the action. And we will be back next week on Tuesday, 11:30, DallasCowboys.com with some more Mick Shots.
Go Cowboys!
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!